Yo! Random video review, Tom Fiddzy here with The Mandalorian, Season 2, Final, Episode 8, Chapter 16, and this episode was just a... What on earth happened? Wow. That ending, I don't even know how I feel about that ending, like, right now, because right now I'm just like, is that it? It's ended? Surely there's another episode after this, because of how it ended. We'll get into all of that. There's so much to break down. First of all, I have to say that I absolutely love that when you go on Disney Plus, the thumbnail was just like of that droid walking down a corridor. Absolutely gave nothing away apart from the fact that we are going onto onto like an Imperial ship, which we already knew. So they had faith that people were still going to click it, even though it didn't have the most clickbait thumbnail. If you want a clickbait thumbnail, you put what happened at the end, the two big end wow moments, but they didn't. They just went with the classic silver droid, and that was enough to get me intrigued. That was enough to get me clicking. I was going to click on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So let's talk about this episode. It starts off straight away. They go and they get the scientists, no messing around, getting straight into the action. And then he goes and gets Bo-Katan as well. I actually wasn't expecting that. I wasn't sure if Bo-Katan was going to come back. I do kind of find it weird though how in the Star Wars universe, it's just so easy to find people. And they're always in a bar. Every time you need to find somebody, you just land, you walk into a bar and there they are having a drink. So casual. They're never like in the bath. They're never having a day off or anything. Always just chilling in a bar. So it was a little bit convenient, but I'm kind of glad that Bo-Katan came back because that developed into some interesting stuff. No doubt some interesting stuff going into Series 3 as well that we'll talk about a little bit later on. So then where on earth do I go from here? So yeah, they get everyone and then they go to Moff Gideon's ship. A little bit disappointed that Boba Fett didn't join them. Boba Fett was just the designated driver in this episode again. So it was a little bit disappointing. But again, we'll talk about Boba Fett stuff at the end of this episode because he had his own little advertising, I want to say. Yeah, but that was really cool. That was just like a bit like, huh? Nani? Another one of those ending moments where you're just like, what? How can you just end it there? Give me more content now. So they go onto the ship and then straight away when the Mandalorian walked out of the ship and he had this staff with him, I was like, okay, we're gonna get a fight. We're gonna get Darksaber versus the Beskar staff, and we got that. Moff Gideon was there with Baby Yoda, with Grogu, and at first I thought it was gonna take a really interesting turn where he was like, you can have the child. I've got what I need. I got the blood. Take him. I don't care. And I was like, oh, are we gonna go somewhere really interesting? Is he like? It was almost as if he was like, I don't care about the Darksaber, you keep it. I'm going to take the child and get out of there. I was like, oh, we're going to get into some conflict with like Bo-Katan. But then, of course, the villain being the villain, he stabs him in the back and we get into a fight. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. But for a little brief moment, I was like, this could be really interesting. But they do that. They have the fight. The fight was epic. And then I'm looking at the time. I'm like, it can't be it. They've captured Moff Gideon. It can't be over. It was not even like halfway through the episode yet. And of course, it wasn't over. We then get into the next reveal that it was all part of Gideon's plan for the Mandalorian to wield the Darksaber because he doesn't know about all of that, all of the kind of new Mandalorian stuff and about the Darksaber stuff. He only knows about his own kind of little Mandalorian cult about the don't take your helmet off or don't show your face, as we got into with Mayfield in the last episode. Don't show your face cult. And it turns out that the Darksaber, you can't just give it to someone, you have to win it in combat, and he just won it from Gideon, and that makes something super interesting. We are getting into some super interesting stuff with Bo-Katan, because it looks like now Bo-Katan could end up actually becoming a little bit of an antagonist, especially in the next series, because we don't finish it off in this episode. The Mandalorian has the Darksaber, and he can't just give it to Bo-Katan, because Bo-Katan has to win it from the Mandalorian in a fight. And I was a little bit like, really, Bo-Katan, just take it. Like, you were like having a go at the Mandalorian as well for like, this is the way, and not removing your helmet and stuff. And then here, you're being so fussy about another old tradition and stuff, and you're not kind of yielding to it. You was mocking him about like not taking your helmet off and everything, and now you're like doing the same kind of thing with this Darksaber. So I felt that was like, and especially later on in the episode, you know, he takes his helmet off again to show Grogu his face, which was a really sad scene. The end of this episode, I was, you know, I was putting on a brave face at the end of this episode. So she saw him take his helmet off. She saw him buckle the rules a little bit. Buckle the rules. Just take the dark saber. He yielded. Just take it. I know that's not like the Mandalorian way, but don't say one thing and then kind of contradict yourself. But it is going to lead to some really interesting stuff later on. And hey, now the Mandalorian is wielding the darksaber, so we're going to be seeing a lot more darksaber stuff. Darksaber and the spear as well. That's really, really cool. And then, yeah, still, I was looking at the time, I was like, God, there must be more of this episode left. The Dark Troopers come back, and I was like, we're going to get into a big fight with the Dark Troopers. They were really menacing. They were really cool. I loved it when he was like punching his helmet, just seeing two really strong things. When the Dark Troop like hit him on another, it's like a immovable object versus an unstoppable force, that kind of thing with the Beskar armor and stuff. But then when the droid was coming towards them, the Mandalorian was just shooting the armor. It was just pinging off, ping, ping, ping. I was like, just shoot the middle bit. Just shoot the exposed middle bit. Just in the end, he did the flamethrower in it, and it didn't actually do anything. It didn't actually work. But still, the droid logic in Star Wars, they always have like exposed bits. It's the same with actually the Mandalorian and Boba Fett's armor. In the last few episodes, like the blaster bolts are like pinging off their chest plates, but if you just hit like the little middle bit there or anywhere else, any of the fabric, it's not like it covers their entire body. The logic again of Star Wars, you just gotta ignore it sometimes. It's the classic like you're playing like a fantasy game and the female armor is just like a metal thong and a metal nipple tassel, and yet they're still fine and they can take sword blows without any consequences. And then what else happened after that? Yeah, so the Dark Troopers are there, and we see an X-Wing fly in. In this series, we had Boba Fett's one fly in, Slave one fly in, and we're like, oh, we know who that is. We saw the X-Wing fly in, and I was like, oh, I think I know who this is. But I wasn't sure because we see a cloaked figure come out. You know it's going to be a Jedi. I'm like, X-Wing, it's an old X-Wing. It has to be Luke Skywalker. But then cloaked figure, I'm like, oh, is it? Is it Luke Skywalker? Is it Ezra? Could it be Ezra? Could it be Ahsoka? Could it be Barriss? Could it be Quillian Vos? Don't know who it could be. I know it's a Jedi. Then you see the green lightsaber and you're like, oh, is Luke Skywalker? Or is it Ezra? Could it be Ezra? I'm still not sure. You're looking at him, you're like, is that a beard? It still could be Ezra, maybe with a beard. He's got a glove on with a hand, and maybe that's just like a fake out. Then we see the person who it is, and it is CGI Luke Skywalker. And I was like, is that Mark Hamill, or is that Sebastian Stan, or is that just a man like in a green morph suit? Didn't care though, because it's so good seeing Luke Skywalker and baby Grogu. Baby Yoda, baby Grogu, combining the two. Grogu goes with Luke Skywalker, and I'm a little bit like, that's really cool because we're getting Luke Skywalker back in the story, and we can get some Luke Skywalker stuff, and maybe we can actually kind of see him setting up his Jedi temple and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, Grogu, we know what happens to that place. Like, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't even know how it's going to go in the next series. Maybe there's going to be like a bit of a time jump, and then we're going to get like a distress signal come out from like the night that Kylo Ren did what he did. But then I'm not sure. I kind of don't want that, because I don't want that too big of a time jump. But definitely interesting. Oh, is the next series going to be, some stuff is going to be with like Grogu in a separate thing, and the Mandalorian's going to have his own thing? Could we be seeing a young Ben Solo? Not really sure where this is going to go for the story, so this is where my feelings are really mixed. We know that it doesn't work out for Luke Skywalker and that training camp, and I was really hoping that we get a lot more Grogu and Mandalorian stuff. And then the episode just ended. It literally just ended with with Luke Skywalker taking Grogu off and the Mandalorian standing there on the ship, and that was it. Like, I don't even know where the next series is going to go from there. We still got to deal with that Bo-Katan stuff with the Darksaber. And yeah, and that's it. It ends. I know that the new series that they announced, the Cara one, is going to like link into it. So maybe there are going to be like separate missions and stuff. Maybe the way it links into it is that we're going to see the rise of like the First Order and stuff, and that series is going to slowly deal with like the fall of the Republic, and then equally the Grogu stuff is going to deal with like the fall of Luke Skywalker's thing, and that's how it's all going to combine. And then the Mandalorian's going to be in the sequel trilogy era of films, which I don't really want because I don't like the sequel era trilogy of films. I'd rather keep it in this time period. So yeah, really interesting, really confusing. I don't want the next series for there to not be as much Mandalorian and Grogu stuff. I still wanted them to kind of be together, but it definitely has some interesting possibilities. I'll have to obviously see what happens. It's still very early days. I did really like the fact that R2D2 came in. I was not expecting that. That was a massive. Like, I was more excited and happy about seeing R2D2 just roll in than I was Luke Skywalker, because Luke Skywalker, you saw the X-Wing, you're like, oh, I think it's Luke Skywalker. You see the cloak figure, I think it's Luke Skywalker. You see the green lightsaber, I think it's Luke Skywalker. You see the CGI model and you're like, is that Luke Skywalker? But when R2D2 just rolled around that corner, completely unexpected, I had a big smile on my face, and it looks like Grogu knew R2D2. That makes sense because R2D2 was there. I definitely got that vibe that they were like old buddies and recognized one another. Maybe R2D2 was the person that saved Grogu. I'm not sure how that would work, but definitely interesting stuff there as well. And yeah, just great to see R2D2 actually rolling around and doing stuff, because unfortunately in the sequel trilogy he was more like an old jukebox sitting in the corner of the room not doing anything. So that's why I was generally really happy and smiling at that stuff. And then we got the end. We got Boba Fett. The book of Boba Fett. That was weird, right? I was like it was great to see that. But it was like, what is this? An advert? Are you ending the series with an advert? Was Mandalorian season 2 just a bunch of adverts for other stuff? The Cara Dune stuff, the Ahsoka series? A little bit interesting. Book of Boba Fett. Is it literally just a book, or is it like a show or a film called The Book of Boba Fett? I'm assuming it's just a book, but that was a cool thing to see. Boba Fett sitting on the throne, Jabba's old throne. That was Bib Fortuna's throne. I guess that throws out Bib Fortuna's being a Boma monk from the Legends stuff. That kind of throws that out. But yeah, he survived and he gained some weight and he ended up with his own empire, but he still had those disgustingly long nails. They were making me cringe. Oh, I just imagined him trying to pick stuff up and it snapping. Gross. How does he pick anything up? Yeah, that was a really cool little tease. It's just a shame they ended with here's an advert, and it didn't end with like here's some actual like hints as towards what the next Mandalorian series is going to be. But no, exciting stuff for the Star Wars future. A good ending, but I don't know, a mixed ending, because I am just like, where is this going? Where is this going now? Like, definitely surprised, but at the same time, I'm like, is the next series, The Mandalorian, really going to be kind of something that I want? Is it, or is it going to diverge too far into something else? You know, I didn't really want it to go too much into the sequel stuff. I mean, obviously it'd be great to see young Kylo Ren, but I'd rather have that in different content than everything getting thrown into The Mandalorian. I'm really hoping for it to keep as like a Mandalorian and the Mandalorian's little story. I'm guessing the next series is going to be more just Mandalorian versus Bo-Katan and the Mandalore stuff. But then where does that leave Grogu? Obviously, you can't get rid of Grogu, because that is your merchandising, not the Book of Boba Fett. Baby Yoda t-shirts, Baby Yoda plushes, Baby Yoda gifts. Need those Baby Yoda gifts. It was a really sweet one. That's definitely going to be a great gift, where it looks down and he's just like clinging onto the Mandalorian's leg and then touching his face. And the R2D2 one as well. So yeah, good, mixed. I'm just gonna give this one a purple tier. It didn't blow my mind. There was great twists and turns. The Gideon stuff was really cool. The reveal of Luke Skywalker was really cool. But I'm now a little bit cautiously optimistic as to where the series as a whole is going to go. But yeah, excited for that future, and I hope Baby Grogu is okay. Otherwise, Kylo Ren, I'm gonna really hate you.